What's up, everyone? Get ready for a story that proves you can choose your friends, but you definitely can't choose your family, especially when they're entitled. Today, we're talking about money, betrayal, and a $500,000 house flip that almost turned into a family war zone. My name is Alex, and I've spent the last decade building a reputation as a serious property developer. I buy dumps and turn them into dream homes. But when my cousin, Jenna, decided my latest masterpiece was just the perfect opportunity for a family discount, things went from awkward to nuclear fast. You're going to hear about the moment she tried to sabotage my entire business, and how I flipped the script on her, giving her a deal she truly deserved. This is the ultimate lesson in keeping professional boundaries, no matter who the conflict is with. Let's dive in. My entitled cousin demanded I sell her my $500,000 house flip for family discount, then tried to sabotage my open house. So I gave her the deal she deserved. My family has always had money, but I've worked hard to distance myself from the trust fund kid stereotype. I'm a property developer, specializing in flipping high-end houses. I take neglected historical homes, pour every ounce of energy and capital into them, and sell them for a substantial profit. It's hard work, but I love it. This isn't a hobby, it's my livelihood, supporting my wife and our 2 kids. My cousin, Jenna, however, embodies everything I try to avoid. She's perpetually unemployed, relies entirely on a small allowance from her mother, my aunt, and believes the world owes her everything because she's family. She's been a low-grade nuisance my whole life, always needing a loan she never repays, always expecting free favors. But she never crossed a professional line until my latest project, the Harrington House. The Harrington House was magnificent. A colonial revival home built in 1920, sitting on 3 acres, but it was falling apart when I bought it. I spent 9 months doing a full restoration, down to the original crown molding and leaded glass windows. I poured nearly $1 million into the renovation. The projected sale price was $2.8 million, netting me a clean $500,000 profit after all expenses. It was scheduled for its first open house, a massive event, on a Sunday afternoon. The week before the open house, I was showing the house to my mom and aunt. Jenna tagged along uninvited. She spent the entire tour criticizing everything: the color palette was too cold, the imported Italian tile in the kitchen was too flashy, and the restored vintage wallpaper in the master bedroom was old lady chic. I just smiled and nodded, used to her negativity. Then, we got to the sunroom, which overlooked the grounds. Jenna paused, took a deep breath, and turned to me with this expression of supreme entitlement. "This house is perfect, Alex," she announced. "Absolutely perfect. And you know, I've always wanted a house like this." I waited for her to finish, thinking she was going to ask for a referral to a mortgage broker or something. Instead, she dropped the bomb. "I need you to sell it to me," she stated, not asked. I was confused. "Jenna, the house is selling for $2.8 million. You know that's slightly outside your allowance." She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, the price. Right. That's where the family discount comes in. I'm thinking I'll take it for about $1.4 million. Half off. You know, since we're family, and you're getting a huge tax write-off anyway." I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. My aunt looked horrified, but my mom just looked away, having witnessed Jenna's antics a million times. "Jenna, that's absurd," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I have $1 million invested in the renovation alone. If I sell it for $1.4 million, I'd lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is a business, not a charity." Her smile immediately vanished. "A business? Don't be ridiculous. It's pocket change to you. You're practically stealing this house anyway. Just give me the family discount. You owe me." "I owe you nothing," I countered, my patience wearing thin. "This house goes on the market Sunday at $2.8 million. If you want to put in an offer, talk to the agent. At full price." Jenna exploded. She started shouting about how I was greedy, how I'd forgotten where I came from, and how I was prioritizing strangers over blood. She accused me of being a spoiled brat trying to prove something. My aunt finally stepped in, pulling Jenna away, promising to talk sense into her later. The next day, I got a string of texts from Jenna. They were truly unhinged. She called me a shark, a traitor, and threatened to tell the whole family how I'd screwed her over. I ignored them all. I was busy preparing for the open house, the most important one of the year. The day of the open house, the weather was perfect. We had a huge turnout, about 20 serious buyers scheduled for the first hour alone. My realtor, Mark, was ecstatic. This house was going to sell fast. I was stationed in the kitchen, casually answering questions and trying to stay out of the way, when the front door opened, and who should walk in? Jenna. She was dressed impeccably, holding a small notepad and wearing large sunglasses. She greeted me with a sickeningly sweet smile. I decided to come support you, Alex. Maybe I can convince my mother to loan me the money. I knew that was a lie. My aunt had cut her off 3 months ago. I nodded curtly and tried to steer her toward the coffee table, but she had other plans. She immediately positioned herself near the main entryway, pretending to browse the antique table when potential buyers walked in. The first serious couple, the Millers, came up to her, thinking she was a fellow prospective buyer. Before they could even ask her opinion, Jenna launched into her spiel. "Oh, it's a beautiful house, yes, but you really have to look closer," she whispered conspiratorially. "The foundation is known to be bad. Alex only put a band-aid on it. And frankly, the plumbing is ancient. He probably just polished the fixtures instead of replacing the lines. My cousin is a good flipper, but he cuts corners where it matters." I felt my blood run cold. She was actively spreading false, malicious information about my professional work to potential buyers. I watched the Millers exchange worried glances before thanking her and quickly moving on, their enthusiasm noticeably deflated. I marched over to her. "Jenna, what the hell do you think you're doing?" I hissed. She batted her eyelashes innocently. "Just giving an honest opinion, Alex. I thought that's what family does. You're trespassing, and you're slandering my business. Get out, now." She smirked. "Or what? You'll call the police on your own cousin? Go ahead. See how that looks." I knew she had me cornered. If I caused a scene and had her dragged out by security, it would ruin the open house far worse than her whispers. People would talk. My reputation would be tarnished. I retreated, watching her ruin 3 more viewings in the next 15 minutes. She wasn't just spreading false information, she was pointing out minor, non-existent flaws, complaining loudly about the neighborhood noise, and even telling one buyer that the local school district was secretly failing. My realtor, Mark, looked desperate. He kept trying to intercept her, but she was too quick. The fourth set of potential buyers, the Harrisons, a couple who seemed particularly keen, were walking through the living room when Jenna intercepted them. She pointed dramatically at the newly installed HVAC vent. "You see that? Terrible placement. It was clearly done to cover up water damage," she announced loudly. "I bet the whole wall is moldy. I know Alex's techniques." The Harrisons stopped, their smiles fading. This was costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost bids, and potentially sinking the entire sale. I had to end it. I signaled to Mark to grab his phone and start recording discreetly. Mark, who is a veteran realtor, understood immediately. I walked right up to Jenna, placed my hand firmly on her arm, and pulled her aside, gently but forcefully, ensuring we were still in sight and earshot of the remaining buyers, including the Harrisons. "Jenna," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "Stop it. Now. You are ruining my career over spite." She yanked her arm back. "I'm just ensuring the price drops so I can afford it. When this all falls apart, you'll be begging me to take it off your hands for $1.5 million. And I'll laugh." "You think this is a game?" I asked. "Fine. You want a deal? I'll give you a deal. But you need to sign something first. Right now." Her eyes lit up with greed. "What? The purchase agreement? You're going to give me the discount?" I shook my head. "No. I'm giving you a professional non-disclosure and liability agreement. If you sign this right now, in front of the witnesses, agreeing to pay for damages caused by your slander, I won't call the police to have you arrested for trespass and defamation, and I won't share the footage of you sabotaging my business with every single family member who has a dime in the trust fund you're hoping to inherit. Jenna paused, processing the threat. She looked around at the buyers who were pretending not to listen but clearly hanging on every word. She looked at Mark, holding his phone in his pocket. The police threat scared her, but the idea of being cut off from the small family trust money she was due when she turned 30 scared her more. Fine, she spat. Draft it up. I'm not paying for anything, but I'll sign your stupid NDA. I pulled out a pre-prepared, folded document from my inner jacket pocket, a document my corporate lawyer had drafted years ago for a difficult contractor, which I had customized that morning after her threatening texts. I also pulled out a Mont Blanc pen, a gift from my wife for my first successful flip. It's a liability waiver and NDA, protecting me from your recent actions, I stated clearly. It also confirms you forfeit any claims against my business and any shared financial obligations, past, present, or future, to ensure no conflict of interest arises. I emphasized the words "no conflict of interest." She snatched the document and unfolded it. It was several pages long, dense with legal jargon. She scanned the first page, saw the words non-disclosure and defamation penalty, and immediately decided reading it was beneath her. Whatever, just show me where to sign, she muttered impatiently. I pointed to the signature line, keeping a perfect poker face. She scribbled her signature quickly, threw the pen down, and glared at me. Happy? Now I'm signing your purchase agreement. This is the only thing you're signing today, I said, taking the document back and folding it carefully. Now get out. The deal is sealed. Her mouth dropped open. Wait. You tricked me? What about the discount? I smiled sweetly. This was the deal, Jenna. You signed a legal waiver to avoid being arrested and sued for damages. Now go. And don't ever set foot on one of my properties again. She tried to argue, but by then, Mark had discreetly ushered the Harrisons into the viewing area. Jenna realized she had nothing left. She had been publicly exposed, she had signed something mysterious, and I had leverage. She stomped out of the house in a rage, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. The Harrisons approached me afterward, looking concerned. I simply smiled, looked them directly in the eye, and said, I apologize for the disturbance. That was a family member who recently became distressed after learning she would not be inheriting a significant portion of our grandfather's trust fund, which unfortunately she felt entitled to. She signed an agreement to resolve the matter and waive future claims. She is not a buyer. The house, as I can guarantee you, is sound. I have all the engineering reports ready for review. The fact that I was so calm, so honest about the family drama, and had clearly just handled the situation with a legal document seemed to reassure them. They exchanged impressed glances. That afternoon, the Harrisons put in a full-price, non-contingent offer. The house was sold within 48 hours. The real fun started 2 weeks later. The document Jenna signed was not just a simple NDA. It was a complex, multi-page legal agreement that, among other things, contained a clause stating that by signing, she was agreeing to immediately and irrevocably waive her right to challenge the upcoming disbursement of our late grandfather's significant trust fund, a fund she stood to receive a small but necessary amount from when she turned 30. The conflict of interest phrase I used was pure legal misdirection. It was a perfectly legal contract she signed willingly, without reading, under the pretense of avoiding an immediate, public catastrophe. The trust fund disbursement was scheduled for the following month. My grandfather had explicitly written that anyone who caused undue hardship, legal or financial, to any of the primary beneficiaries, which included me, as a business owner, could be legally excluded from the smaller secondary payouts. Jenna's actions at the open house, which I had documented and had Mark notarize in a statement about potential financial loss, qualified perfectly. My lawyer sent her the notice 2 days after the sale closed. Jenna was receiving exactly $0 from the trust. She called me, absolutely hysterical. You set me up. You bastard. That document wasn't an NDA, it was a waiver. You signed a legally binding agreement in front of witnesses, Jenna, I replied calmly. You were given a choice to read it or deal with the police. You made your choice. You wanted a deal? That was the deal you deserved. She tried to challenge it legally, but my lawyer laughed her lawyer out of the office. The contract was bulletproof, signed, and witnessed. The fact that she was actively trying to sabotage a family member's business for her own financial gain, combined with the waiver she signed, ensured her appeal went nowhere. Jenna's attempts to turn the family against me backfired spectacularly. When she started ranting to my aunt and others about being tricked, I simply sent them the security footage from the open house, the clip showing her actively lying to buyers about foundation issues and mold. The family saw her true colors, entitled, desperate, and willing to hurt others for her own greed. She lost the small family trust money, and the social fallout was brutal. My aunt finally cut her off completely, stating she was done supporting a manipulative liar. Last I heard, Jenna moved out of state to live with a distant relative, having alienated everyone who ever helped her. As for me, the Harrington house sale closed beautifully, and I made my profit. The Harrisons even sent me a lovely gift basket for being the most honest and professional seller they had encountered. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't dramatic screaming or physical confrontation. Sometimes, it's just letting an entitled person sign away their own future because they were too arrogant to read the fine print. Man, that felt good to hear. What an absolute masterclass in professional revenge. Alex didn't just win, he established an ironclad boundary against toxicity while protecting his business. Now, here's the burning question: do you think Jenna got exactly what she deserved, or was cutting her off from the family trust fund a step too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this satisfying story of justice and accountability, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. See you in the next one.